Looking to get your projects effortlessly organized? Today I'll guide you through Trello from scratch, from downloading the app, setting up your first board, and even automating tasks like a pro. Now, whether you want to have a personal to-do list or projects, I'll get you covered, and let's jump in. Welcome to this first lesson, Understanding Trello. In this lesson, we're going to cover three major topics. The first is to familiarise ourselves with the fundamental concepts of Trello. The second is to explore the features and benefits. And the third is to have a look at the key terminologies and the landscape of Trello, all of the things that we're going to be using throughout this course. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Trello is a visual project management tool that uses boards, lists, and cards that help you to visualize your tasks and organize your projects. It's like having a digital whiteboard where you can easily track and collaborate with your team. Creating a board is simple and you can customize your list based on your requirements. Each board can be split into different ways called the Kanban method. So you can have a to-do, in progress, completed, a task, or you can have things like weekly tasks, ongoing projects, and different departments as well. Each list here represents a stage or a particular department. You can customize each list and each card within your board. And let's now go on to the features and benefits and have a look at how. The first feature is the drag and drop. So you simply click on a card and you can move it across to any of the other lists that you have on your board. Collaborating with teammates is very simple. You can invite team members to a board or a particular card or task. So you have a number of members over here, and to easily invite someone, you click on the share and you can invite them there. Attachments and checklists. So when you go inside a particular card, you can have a look at the checklist that you can add, descriptions, attachments. You simply attach either a file or another board here. Labels that can be customized, as well as due dates. You can easily integrate other functions such as Google Drive or OneDrive or other tools like Slack and many more. Trello also works seamlessly across the web and mobile apps, both on Apple and Google Play, as well as desktop, and it's supported in many of the modern browsers. Let's have a look at the key terminologies. So we have boards over here, lists, cards, labels, due dates, and even any comments. Familiarizing yourself with these terms is going to help you along the course. Welcome to lesson 2. In this lesson, getting started with Trello, we're going to have a look at how to set up your Trello account, how to look at the key navigation components of Trello, and then further, let's have a look at how to set up an efficient and personalized experience for you. Let's jump into it. First step we need to do is to set up our account. So head over to Trello.com and let's access the sign up page. Now, if you've already got an account, then you can just sign up here. Otherwise, you can click on to get Trello for free. Click onto that and you can see you can sign up by email. If you sign up by email, you will get a verification code, or you can go ahead and sign up with any of the other sign-ins, Google, Microsoft, Apple, or even Slack. I usually have mine with my Google, so let's just sign in and click right into it. Congratulations, and now you have your account all for you. If you have a number of different accounts, you can go ahead and switch accounts here. And congratulations, you are now a proud owner of a free version of Trello. Now, on this interface, you have a number of different options. So the first thing is you may want to create a workspace. So I have a workspace called Skillshare Trello workspace. You can create your own workspace by selecting the plus icon here. Within your workspace, this can have a number of different boards, and then you can even look down to your highlights, which shows you what's available, what's the upcoming projects or anything that you need to keep an eye of. You can also add members to the whole workspace or particular boards directly from here. You just click into that and you can add a number of different members here. You can have workspace members, you can have guests, and you can have people that are also waiting to join your board. You can add those as well here. You can also access your settings for your workspace right here. So you can change your workspace visibility to public where anyone can see the link, or you can keep it as private. You can also link your Slack account directly here, and you can also explore the premium features that are available if you wanted to go down the page route. Let's hop into a board and let's start to personalize our settings over here. So you have your board here, and let's personalize a couple of things that are available to you. If you come across to your profile picture over here, you can click onto that. You can go onto profile and visibility. And here you can manage personal information about yourself, add your bio, add your username, as long as it's available, you can change that here. You can come across and also change your settings where you can have your notifications come out. So you can change your language as well here. You can change your email frequency. So anytime you've been mentioned, you can have a periodic notification that's coming up to you. Either never if you don't want the notifications, and instantly when every time there's a change. You can customize them with any one or all of these available preferences, so comments, due dates, attachments, etc. You can also add power-ups directly from here, so click onto that. You can use Blue Cat imports, which helps you to import anything by Excel, and I currently have my OneDrive added here. So we'll explore power-ups in a later lesson. If you're like me and you want to personalize your colors and change a few customization to make it look like yours, click on the three dots over here, brings you up to a level of options, and you can simply go on to change background. You can change it to different photos. So let's just select this one over here. There you go. And you can also explore all the different functions here, custom fields, automations, stickers. You can even create a template and save that. You can watch the board, copy it, email, even print and export and share. You can even close the board directly from the menu over here. Welcome to lesson 3, creating effective boards. A board in Trello is effectively your canvas on where you're going to shape your project. So using effectively labels, other things like due dates, checklists will help you to shape your boards in the most effective way. Let's jump into it. Defining your boards are the fundamental concept of how you'll be able to structure your canvas. Now, you have different boards, and the most important thing is to understand what's the scope of each single board, who are the audience, and how to name the board. Now, let's just create a board here, and we are going to create a personal to-do list. Now, you can also have a look at the workspace visibility. So if you're managing this workspace, you can control it and have a private board. So my private and personal thing is not going to be shared with everybody. And let's create. Now you can simply choose a template, but you can also have it create your own board and set up your own cards and lists. And that's your personal board here. We can add a to-do list, we can add a doing list, and we can add a done list. Now let's go back and have a look at the other boards and see what we can do. Perhaps you want to have a joint team board and collaborate with team and projects that are outside the scope of your workspace. We can also have, for example, a joint external project. So add this in here. Now the workspace visibility can be public, or you can still control this and add specific members to your workspace. So let's just click onto public. Yes, make it public. And now we can start with the template. Let's go to a go-to-market strategy or project management, remote teams, and click on to create. So each of these boards have various different concepts of how they're going to be used. Now let's click into the social media marketing board, and the way that it's structured is you have resources here that are linked, you have ideas, to do, doing, and done. You can have a look at different performance and metrics. You can add them over here as well. Make sure that your flow goes from left to right, as that way you'll be able to track all the progression of your different to-do lists within all your cards. Make sure that you use labels effectively, so you could have things like high impact, medium effort projects. You can mark this into urgent, into the different categories, or anything that's going to highlight at a glance your task for the day. Use effectively images or any of your brand colors, identity, so it's visually represented and makes you feel like each section is dedicated to a particular function within your workspace. Adding images and labels is easy. We just click into this and you can simply just change the image here by selecting the cover, whether it's a color or any images across here. Welcome to lesson 4, Maximising Card Efficiency. Cards are effectively your building blocks inside of your boards in Trello. Cards can be used for many different ways to organise. So how to use labels effectively, how to add detailed information, checklists, even using attachments. Let's jump into it. So we're going to start to add our first card. Now we have a number of lists over here. We're going to add it to the to-do card. So the first thing you do is just simply click onto the card, and we are going to be planning a Black Friday launch. So we are going to type in launch. Okay, launch marketing campaign for Black Friday. Now, once you have created that, think of this as your cover for your card. Now we go back and enter into the card, and it opens up a screen where we can add a lot of different information. Now what we can do is, the first thing we'll do is add a description for what this card is all about. So let's type in Black Friday project. Okay, project planning. And we are going to prepare and organize for the biggest sale of the year. Now here you can add as much information that you want to have. Let's just type in bring in ideas and more ideas. Instead of having just plain text, you can just highlight the text, and you have a lot of different options up here. So you can create it as a heading. So the whole text here, the paragraph, would go as a heading, or you can simply just highlight a particular part of the text, and you can even italicize it. So go here, and there you go. And you can even add things like emojis if you want. So let's add an emoji. And you can also have other formatting options, strike through, clear the formatting. You can even add a snippet of code if you want to. Now we are going to add a divider here. And from the divider, we can now start to type in some further things. I like these references. And what we can do is we can now in this section make a bulleted list or a numbered list, and their shortcut keys as well. So let's say I like Sephora.com. And if I want to now tag one of my colleagues to say, hey, check this out, you can just literally tag them. Let's say Jane, check this out. And you can have another reference here, for example, Amazon.com. And what you can do is rather than just having a list, you can also go up here and link it right there. So if we do this, we can now have a hyperlink directly on there. Once you click onto it, you can edit the link and you can open it into a new file or break the link if you want to as well. Now let's just press save. We have a certain amount of information here. We can do a number of other things as well. So as an admin, if you want to join this particular card, you can just press join. And you have the watching here. So when we cover settings in a later lesson, you'll see how you are able to notify. So you can have an email, you could have various other options of how to be notified. You can add members to this card. So we just want a couple of different members. Let's type in a couple of members here that we would look at. So we can have suggestions as well come up. So if you use regularly any particular team members for a card, Trello as well gives you some suggestions. So let's just type that in and that's okay there. Now we have a number of members as well on our board. Now we want to add a checklist. So we simply click on to the checklist, and in the checklist, you can create a custom checklist every time, but you might also have checklists in other cards, which you can simply take over. So you might have repetitive tasks that require a certain level or a certain process that you can bring across to this as well. Now we simply add the checklist and let's start typing in the first item on the checklist. So we're going to define campaign objectives, and that's going to be objectives and KPIs. That's going to be our first list on the check here. And now we can continue to add the rest of the items. Now that's created a checklist. So every time you check off one of the items on the list, it goes and shows you a progress bar right over here. Now for each list, you can tag somebody and you can have a due date per task. Now this is only available in the paid versions. You also have an option here where you can convert it to a card, or if you didn't want something, you can also delete it, and you can simply move along one of the items if they needed to be up further or down the list. We can now also add comments and we can tag our team members by just simply adding, let's say we have David here, and we can write here, we need to prepare all digital assets. And you can continue with different comments over here as well. Now you can reply and people will get notifications if you tag them. So you can go up the board here and we're going to now add some labels. So this particular card, we can go to a high impact and it gives you suggestion. It is definitely under marketing and we want it to be urgent as well. Now we have our labels. We can move on to the due date. So let's say our due date is on the 13th of September. We can click onto that and we can also set ourselves a reminder for either an hour or any specific time. So you can save that. And now we also have a due date on our card. If we want to add attachments, we simply click onto the attachment and you can add another board or you can have any of the other cards over here. So you can add different things, but you could also choose a file from your computer. So let's click onto that. And now we have, we go across to the mood board, let's say, open that and we can write a text if we want as well on the board, or we can just add it. Now, as you add an attachment, if it is an image, it does by default go as the cover, but we don't always want it to be the right one for the cover. So we can change the attachment. For example, we can change it across to the cover. We can use any of the different available photos from Trello, or once again, you can upload a cover. So let's go in here and we're going to upload this cover as well. Okay, and there you have a completed card that you are able to add a lot of information that's going to save you a lot of confusion and help the collaboration of a task throughout the whole project and workflow. And if you close it, you can see now you've created a card here with 2 tasks done, due date, and all the summary of the information is available on one particular block. Welcome to lesson 5, collaborating and communicating. In this lesson, the key is to really dive deep in and have a look at how you can collaborate with your team and how to structure, once again, your board. Now, we're going to have a look at how to invite team members, how to assign work to certain team members, and how to look at the progress. Let's jump into it. In Trello, you have in the free version 10 boards. However, you do have unlimited number of people that you can invite to your workspace. So that is definitely an advantage. So when you are on the screen with the workspace and the boards, you have on below here, members, and you also have here workspace settings. So you have different settings here. So let's go across to members. You can see on the members, you have workspace members that have access to everything within the workspace. And then you have guests that only have access to certain boards. So you can add them to the workspace if you want to, but certain team members may only have access to certain boards. And this doesn't only apply to the team members that you have within your company. You can also invite people from other companies, remote workers, freelancers, or anyone else who has an interest in that particular board. You can invite team members to the boards by clicking on this icon here, and you can add either an email address, so you can type it in, and you'll have a various different emails here that you could invite. But if you don't want to use the email address or you don't have access to an email address, you could also create a link to the workspace. And once you copy that, you could send that within an email or any other form of communication that you use within your company. While adding team members is easy, removing them as well is quite easy. So you can just go across to the name, or you can search if you have numerous guests or members on your Trello. Just click on the board and you can just go to the board and you have an icon here where you can remove whoever you want directly from your board. Now let's go on to the board that we're working on. So let's say we have it here and we want to share this particular board with one of our members. So we just click onto that. Now here we have, let's say we have Elisa Turner here, and we want to add her as either a member or an observer. So an observer is only if you upgrade, and you can change the options of any other team member. You can remove them from here directly as well. So let's share. With the free plan, you can only have one admin. And once we've created that, now we have a member again on this board. Okay, once everyone has been invited to your board and assigned tasks, you can simply work through the card. And once you've gone on to each of the cards, you can add as well a member here. And then that way they are able to follow through with everything that's happening on this card. So for example, you've created the campaign budget, and now if you can convert to a card, or instead of adding someone here, we can add a comment and we can type in at Elisa over to you, and that would be over to you to design, let's say, social media banners. Now, once the other tasks have been done in order, it could be that this task is now ready to be done. Press OK and save. Notification will now go across to Elisa Turner, and once that colleague has finished their task, they can in turn add comments and assign tasks to the other colleagues within the list. This way you're able to keep track of all the tasks, and everybody understands and knows when they can move on to their tasks as well. Once again, when we come out into the workspace, we can go across to workspace settings, and you can change this to a private workspace, which is not indexed outside of the people that are on the board, or you can select a public where anybody who is out there can join your board with a link or even view the board. You can also control your settings here in terms of notifications. So you can only show unread. You could show everything that's happened here as a summary. And let's click that. Now click the three dots here. And you can change the frequency of the email to notify you periodically, never instantly. So whenever there is something that happens or changes on a board, you get the notification instantly. And you can change to desktop notifications. You can click across to all settings, and you can also have a look at the real detailed available email notification and preferences that Trello offers. So for example, if you just want to be notified on comments that you're on, cards that you're watching, or due dates, if you're removed from a card, attachments of any of the details here, that would allow you to be notified. So it's very, very detailed in the way that it can allow you to give you information according to your specific needs. Welcome to Lesson 6, Harnessing Power-Ups. Power-ups in Trello are the cherry on top of the cake. Now, these help you to add additional functionality to your boards and really push your Trello boards to the next level of productivity. Today, we're going to look at 3 major power-ups. There are numerous power-ups, and we'll go through all of the power-ups that are available for Trello. Let's jump into it. Power-ups are something in Trello that help you supercharge your boards and your cards to help you increase your productivity and help automate certain tasks. Now, certain features are not available by default or in the free versions, so it's much better to add. We just go across to this icon here, Power-ups, click onto that, and if you've got any power-ups installed, it will show you here. So currently I have an import and I have a OneDrive. Now let's go to add power-ups, and this opens up another screen where it shows you the different levels of power-ups that are available. There are a number of different categories. You can see your enabled, you can also see featured ones here, and you can have a look at the different categories available here. There are a lot you can explore, and I'm going to recommend you 3 different ones that you should try to install that would really help you. So the first one that I would recommend is a calendar view, because by default only the paid version will allow you to have the calendar view in Trello. So if you add a calendar power up, you can also see how many people actually have liked on how many boards are available and if there's a staff pick. So it has some level of you having a look at if this is worth it or not. So let's just click onto that. And once you've clicked onto that, that would automatically be available on your Trello board over here. And we'll add a couple more. Let's call it voting. Voting is also a pretty good one and it's highly recommended. So if we click on the voting one, this helps give the power to all your colleagues and allow users to vote on certain cards or tasks that may or may not be planned for future projects. And lastly, there is one called custom fields. Once again, this is something that is not available in the free version of Trello, but you can add this with Amazing Fields. So if we just click on to Amazing Fields, you can add custom formula, font and custom fields over here. So let's click on to that. Now you have all your power ups here on the top. You can add, and it may go through a few questions. Some get default added by default. Press OK, you just authorize it and you can simply click on allow, and it allows you and even give you a walkthrough if you need to know how to use it. So let's just add your first field here. So we could choose from text field, a checkbox, drop down field, a number field, a date and time and a progress as well. We have advanced fields as well, so you can split your fields into tabs and sections, sample boards, and we can have a different level of trackers and field features and example features such as different levels of board color, progress, ID, created date and timeline. So let's just create a drop down field. We'll click onto that. And if you check here, we can call it a drop down field, or you could call it marketing. Let's call it activations. And this could be different things like, let's call it social media. We could call it social media. We could also have something like, let's say, brand management. So different areas that you could add. Now you have a number of different options here as well, labels on top, below, and let's just add this as a field, and that would be added directly onto our Trello board. Now, once you've installed the power-ups, they will be available in different formats. So let's start with the list. And once you scroll down, you can find the amazing fields over here. So we created the marketing activations. We can call this brand management, for example, and the progress. So if we are at, for example, 30 and we want to add 30 as the progress, we'll see that we have some power-ups like this. And let's come out of the card and have a look on our card here. You can see the progress color, 30%. So there were two that I added. You have a lot of different options with this particular power up. The calendar view is here. So when you just click on the calendar view, it arranges all of your tasks in date order as a calendar, and you can have a look at when all of the tasks or any of the tasks are due, which really helps you. So you can do it on a weekly basis. You can have it on a monthly basis as well. You can see all of the tasks that are there for you to stick to the deadlines. Now, the last one, to use the voting power up, it would be installed directly in the card. So when you click into it, so let's say who's in for pizza, you can simply go in, and on the right hand side, we'll scroll down where you have actions and you have a vote here. So you can just click onto that and that gives you a vote. And you would be able to see then a summary of everyone that's voted in for pizza. Now, these are just some of the useful ones that you have, but you can add a number of different power-ups, and that includes things like Google Drive. You can also have Gmail, email to board. This is one of my favorite ones. I'll show you how that works now. you can just add that directly into Outlook from the Outlook app. So when we just click into Outlook, you have an email here, and on the top bar, you would add apps and send to Trello. So for example, if we click onto this email and you simply click the send to Trello, and once we open that, you will find that it loads up, and you can also view any of your boards or whatever board that you want, and you add directly your budget there. You can use Gmail and Microsoft Teams, a lot of messages going back and forth. You can simply just add it as a to-do or any of your list. And essential power-ups, Google Drive's list limits, and Slack as well. You can connect that directly onto your Trello board. Welcome to Lesson 7, Advanced Tricks and Tips. In this lesson, we're going to cover Butler, which is your basic tool that will allow you to repeat repetitive tasks without having to create boards time again and again. Let's jump into it. Now, in each single board, you have created a little button here, which is called automation. And this is now where we find rules and actions depending on some trigger factors that you want some tasks to be done. So now we just click onto automation and rules. Once we've clicked onto that, you have a number of different rules here. You can watch the video here. And basically what it does is that if you have a certain trigger or certain amount of steps, then you're asking it to do certain different things. So let's just view the different options. We go to rules and we want to create an automation. Let's click onto that. And now we need to add a trigger. So let's click onto the trigger. You can have a look at the different options here. So for example, if you move a card from the to-do to, for example, progress or any of the other cards, then you have a certain action. And there are comprehensive list of functions that you could do. Now you can add when a card is added to, created or emailed, moved in or moved out of a certain thing by me or by anyone except me. So let's just do this. When it's added to the board by me, what are we going to do? When the card is added to a list name, we can add that. Now these are just some functions. Unless you click on the plus, it's not actually going to create the rule for you. So once the card is moved, you can add it where the list name is, etc. Now let's say card changes. When the card changes from low impact to removed by, you could also add these, or a username is added to the card by me. We can do certain things. We can also set due dates, and you can have a number of these actions that can go onto each single rule. So we have a due date and we have a certain checklist. So if we have, for example, a checklist is added or removed, we can also do that. We can add certain checklists to campaigns. For example, if you have a checklist, we could also do that. And we can select any of the rules over here. Card content, if it has a name in it, particular mention, or you could also have custom fields. If you did have custom fields available, you can add the custom field name is set by. Now let's go and create an example. So the first example is going to be when we have a card added to the progress list. So these are your predefined lists that you have already. Change to progress, we add that. And what are we going to do? We are going to add a date, and the date, we are going to set the date now to next Monday. So anytime something's moved, it can go on to next Monday or the first of the month, or you could even add things like now, or you could change the due date to something like the next week on Wednesday, for example. So let's just add that as well as a due date. And we've added that as a rule. So when something is added to a list, now we need to add this rule. Press plus to add the action set as a due date. And we can also add, for example, a field or a checklist to that if we want. We can even email it on Slack if we need to. once it's moved, we might want to put it at the top. So we can add the due date by ascending, or we could add it as a label, urgent, and once it's on urgent, it can be set as ascending. Now we need to make sure we add the plus, which then shows you the action and the rule, and make sure that we save it now. So let's select and let's go across and see that our rule is now working. So let's go back onto a board. Now let's go across and add who's in for pizza in progress as an example. And as you can see, we've got a due date up there and it's marked as the label urgent, and that's the rule that's taken the card straight away from what we wanted to do. So this is a very simple way of how to make sure you can track all of your automations. Another one that's pretty useful is, for example, if you have daily tasks or weekly tasks and you have things like financial management, etc. So perhaps you have your weekly tasks and you push them over to progress. Let's see what happens here. You see the due date here, that's due by then, the 29th. And once you move all of these, you can set a rule that anything that's on a certain list goes back to a particular list as well and can be revised in order of what you do. So if we simply move this back, and for example, these are in different orders, these can always be changed back. Okay, we'll have a look at the buttons now. So we click onto the automation, set of rules will go to buttons, and we are going to select the trigger that once you click the button, this is what's going to happen. So once the task is completed, you move the card to the list of completed tasks, and that is an option. So it does give you some options here. Or this is the weekly task, move the card to the top of the list of weekly tasks. So we've already created this one called weekly task. Very simple to create. You just create a new button and it carries on from there, and you add the triggers. And once you go onto the card, let's click onto financial management. Once we go there, we can go to the automation, go to completed tasks. Once we click onto that, you'll see that it moved from in progress back to financial management. And finally, we can also have a look at emailing reports. So maybe you don't want to know what's happening. We can have a weekly board snapshot that's shared, and you can have a number of emails that it goes out to. You can see what's happening, what's the progress, and what are the different tasks that still need to be done on your board. You can schedule a report. You can send a test to yourself to see how it looks. Welcome to lesson 8. Best practices for productivity. In this lesson, we're going to cover the most productive and efficient ways to use Trello, such as time management, time blocking, and other efficient tasks that you can do in Trello. Let's jump into it. So the first thing is to make sure that you time block and make sure that you have enough hours in the day to be able to do it. Now, you could do it in the to-do, and you could have either a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday card if you want, and you can add the hours there to work on certain tasks. Prioritization, this is very important. So for example, if you have a high impact project here, that should be the first in your list, and a low impact should not be the first one on your list. So you can easily arrange your high impacts, urgent tasks right at the beginning. Then make sure you have some weekly or daily checklists so that you can go through repetitive tasks, and these could also be added in to a weekly task where you can block out your time and make sure that these important repetitive tasks are also taken care of. Make sure that you always have a deadline here. Otherwise, if you don't plan a deadline, then the task will remain open forever and you will never get around to it. So make sure that due dates are something that you always adhere to and always are added. Color code your deadlines. So as you see here, urgent is in red, and you can change marketing, high impact in green and low impact. So whatever color scheme works for you, you can just make sure it's easily identified as per your project and make sure that the tasks are completed. Then make sure that you also have a weekly review. So block out some time every week to make sure that you can manage all your tasks for the week. And if you need to adjust deadlines and times, you need to do that. Otherwise, everything will come into the same deadlines. And also make sure that you use the check feature to make sure that the tasks are completed. So make sure that you mark it, and you can easily see that a due date in red is something that has passed, and a due date that's already been completed is marked in green. And let's just add another one here. If we wanted to add another due date that is in the future, let's say on the 12th, press save. You can also see that the color coding here doesn't highlight it because it's not a task that's very urgent right now. Make sure that your notifications are on, or you have some level of activity here that you could have a look at. So you can go through that on a regular basis to see what's happened on the board, or you can also go to watching the board, and you can also email the board to yourself and share as well, so that you are in the loop of everything that's happening. Use the quick capture where you can add things directly onto the mobile app, plan the office party, and this can come directly into your Trello board. There we go. It's something that syncs instantaneously into your app. And you can use the offline access to make sure you can add and edit boards that can be refreshed once you have an internet connection. Welcome to the final lesson, lesson 9, overcoming challenges and troubleshooting. In this lesson, we're going to have a look at the common problems of things like overwhelm, being unstructured, and not setting up your Trello board clearly in the first place. Let's jump into it. The first and best tip that I can give everyone is to build out your Trello boards in a very systematic way. Don't overcomplicate it and don't be disorganized. It could just be that when you start, you have a couple of tasks in each list and you build it as you go along. Now, if you overflow your workload and if you complicate things too much, it's never going to happen. So you need to make sure that each board is followed through by the different team members, and make sure that each of the flows and all the expectations are understood for each of the boards. Now, also neglecting updates. Now, if you have something here, as you can see, the due date's already marked, maybe this has already been done. So you need to make sure that you check them and you can move them along. So the best thing is to make sure you organize regularly, make sure that you have simplicity in your workflow, and make sure you consistently update all of your tasks and your boards. It's very important to make sure that your team are on board with the way that your boards work, because you could have very different ways of using your Trello to any other company. And so you might have specific things that you may want to show your employees. So this is super important on how to make sure that you have a guideline of consistency, make sure everyone is following the process, and making sure that you collaborate together and help everyone enjoy the freedom and the seamless operation of a Trello board. Once you've completed a task and you don't want it to go to any other chart, so what you could do is click onto the card and you have the little icon here, and all you do is archive. Now this task has gone away from the board, but if you want to have access to it again, you can just go across to the 3 dots and you simply find all of the archived items that are available here, and you can send them back to the board if you really would like to do that. That's it, you've just mastered Trello, from downloading the app and setting up boards and even automating your workflow. I hope this tutorial will help you stay organized and boost your productivity. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate if you could give it a like, thumbs up, share, subscribe, and put it in your comments on how you have used this tutorial. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.